May 2025 was insane for metal. I've got 15 killer albums you need to hear. I will be doing things differently this time. I'll just be listing my favorite albums based on their release date. So I will divide it into the 5 weekends that we had in May, and I'll talk about my favorite albums from each weekend. Finally, I will mention a few albums that just came out this weekend on May 30th, and actually have 5 albums from this weekend with 15 albums in total. So with that being said, let me get started.
Welcome to JC Rock and Metal Reviews, a place where metal lives.
Kicking off May 2nd is Nightfall with Children of Eve. This is a Greek band that started in Athens in 1991. They are very underrated. I did a full review of this album, and the point I was trying to make with this band was that they don't get the attention they deserve, despite being a pioneer in the Greek extreme metal scene. I think they should be as big as bands like Rotting Christ or Septic Flesh. But let me talk about the album. The band basically mixes different genres of extreme metal. You got the song The Cannibal with its tremolo-picked death metal style guitar riffs and blast beats along with deep guttural vocals. Then there's the black metal sound of Lurking. There's also the melodic death metal sound of For the Expelled Ones. Therefore, if you are a fan of extreme metal and bands that like to mix lots of genres, I definitely recommend this album. Next is Hate with Bellum Regiis. They are a blackened death metal band from Poland. I was going to do a full review, but I didn't have time to do it. This band has been around for a while. They formed in 1990, and they have 13 studio albums. The new one was released through Metal Blade. This was my first time listening to the band. They sound very good, despite the fact that blackened death metal is not one of my go-to genres. But they are very good songwriters. I found them a little similar to the Greek bands I've been listening to lately, such as Septic Flesh or the aforementioned Nightfall. They almost sound like symphonic death metal, but there are some unique qualities about them. For example, they have deep death metal style vocals, but you can understand the lyrics if you listen closely. They also have this atmospheric quality to their sound, as the music can sound very dense like black metal bands sometimes do, but they can also get melodic and add cleaner guitar textures. So it was a pretty cool album. I'm moving on to May 9th, and I have 4 albums to talk about. This was the second busiest weekend for May for me. I'm going to start with Candlemass and their EP, Black Star. This only has 4 songs, but I felt it was worth a mention. Candlemass is the legendary epic doom metal band and one of my favorites from back in the day. This EP features the current lineup, which includes Leif Edling on vocals. This one has 2 new songs and 2 covers. The EP opens with Black Star, where right away you hear the vocals of Leif Edling and some folk-style acoustic guitar, but then they go into their signature heavy riffs. It's one of those songs where they alternate between the heavy pummeling guitar riffs and the softer passages. Then there is Corridor of Chaos. This is an instrumental with some slow and heavy guitar riffs and some eerie keyboards that can be heard in the background. There's a cover of Black Sabbath, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, and I know a lot of metal bands have covered the song, but they made it their own. And finally, there is another cover, originally by Pentagram, of the song Forever My Queen, which is a song with a faster pace, but still has lots of that doom metal sound. Overall, it's a short EP, but I like it a lot. Next is Death SS, The Entity. They are an Italian heavy metal band. They are the pioneers of extreme shock rock. They've been around since the late 70s. They have a very theatrical stage show. They basically took everything Alice Cooper was doing on stage and they turned it up a notch. This is also the band that Tobias Ford cites as the main influence for his band Ghost. The band has a very theatrical sound. I guess a good comparison would be the band Lordi, but I feel Lordi has more of this comedy and cheesiness factor, and this band is more like those old B-movie horror movies. So there's lots of cool guitar riffs, lots of creepy keyboards, and the music itself can be quite melodic. If you're familiar with the first two albums by Ghost, I think that would be a good example of their sound, even that this band has been doing them first. But the band makes music that sounds like it would fit on the soundtrack of an old horror movie from the 70s or 80s, and any one of their songs would be perfect for the closing credits. Next is the band Paralyzed. The album is Rumble and Roar. They are a German rock band. They formed in 2019. My best description would be if Jim Morrison never died and the Doors continued to make music and maybe start to play a little heavier than they were known to have played. The band mixes psychedelic rock, blues rock, hard rock, and stoner rock. They sound like they came right out of the 70s. In other words, if the Doors were around long enough to hear Black Sabbath and their later albums, it would sound something like this. The band has 5 albums, and some of the songs have these big guitar riffs, other sounds more like blues rock. Then there are others, such as the track Rosie's Town, which has a lot of psychedelic keyboards and sounds a lot like the Doors. There are also some softer tracks like The Myth of Love. If you know me, you know I'm a big Doors fan, so this was one of my favorites of the month. Next I have Lloth with the album Archees Legeones, which means Ancient Legions. It's another Greek band. If you know me, I am biased when it comes to Greek bands. This band has a strange history. They used to be this all-girl black metal band called Astarte. And they formed in the late 90s, and then they changed the name to Lloth, which was their original name from back in the 90s, and they only recorded a demo. Now the band consists of 4 guys. I don't know why they're the same band, but somehow they are. But they play melodic black metal. I guess that would be the best description. The music is very extreme, but maybe more accessible than the typical black metal band, as the guitar playing can be melodic. The vocals are very harsh. You can understand what they're saying. Some of the music sounds like traditional black metal, but has some melodic elements. I don't listen to this genre that much, but they have that unique Greek sound, which I like. I can't really describe it. It's just something that makes Greek bands sound a little similar. There's also some cleaner vocals in some songs. The music can also be epic. Anyway, I like the album. I think you should check it out. Moving on to May 16th. It was a slower weekend for me, as I only have 2 albums to talk about. First one is Pelican with Flickering Resonance. They are an all-instrumental band and are listed as post-metal, but I felt this album had more of an alternative rock sound. To me, it sounded like the Smashing Pumpkins with some early Nirvana, but mixed with the atmospheric sound of The Cure, and it's all instrumental. That's really what I got from it. I thought the album was okay at first, but after listening to it a few times, I liked it more and more. It's a really good album to listen to in the background if you want to do some work, or you want to study, or you need to concentrate. Type of music that has lots of layers of sound and lots of noisy, distorted guitars. It's music that's heavy but can be relaxing at the same time. It's an album you need to be in the mood for. It's perfect for the situations I described above. Next is the band Deep Sun with the album Storyteller. They are a Swiss symphonic metal band that formed in 2006. It's their 4th album. They are a female-fronted symphonic metal band. A good comparison would be early Nightwish. The music has lots of dreamy orchestral textures and operatic female vocals. This sound leans more towards power metal with fast drum beats and melodic guitar riffs. They could also do different stuff, such as the cool bass guitar intro in the song Tales That Should Have Never Been Told. There's the softer folk music quality of a song like United Force that also has some heavier guitars. There are also some ballads, such as the song Worlds Collide, and that's filled with piano passages and orchestration. I think if you're a fan of symphonic metal and power metal, I would give this band a chance. They play music that's more on the melodic side. I don't think they have any harsh death metal style vocals like the band Epica, but otherwise, check them out. Moving on to May 23rd. This was another fairly slow weekend. There was one pretty cool underground band I have and another one as well, but the first one is Age of Apocalypse with In Oblivion. They are a hardcore and thrash band, not necessarily crossover thrash, but one of those bands that kind of blends genres. I think a good comparison would be Life of Agony. They are an American band from New York. They formed in 2018. This is their second full-length album. It's a short album. It's only 26 minutes long. There are some fairly short songs. You have songs like the opening track, Mortal Coil, which has some thrash metal style guitar riffs. You have the next track, Maximum Suffering, with the arpeggiated guitar chords. There are also songs like the title track, which has big and heavy pummeling guitar riffs. Then there are tracks like Equalizer that sounded more like traditional hardcore. Overall, it's a band that likes to blend lots of genres, but they don't sound like anyone else or I've heard it before. I know I had some people recommend other bands that were similar, so I need to check them out. And I like this band a lot, so I recommend that you check them out. I have another band called Witchcraft. The name of the album is Idag. They are a Swedish band that formed in the year 2000. They mix elements of doom metal and psychedelic rock and hard rock. This is their 7th full-length album. The album has 10 tracks, and most of the titles are in Swedish with some English. Songs have varying lengths. For example, the opening track is the title track. It's about 8 minutes long. There are other songs that are about 2 and 3 minutes long, and there are also short interludes that are about a minute long. The music has lots of slow and heavy, distorted guitar riffs. The vocals sound like typical epic doom metal bands, and they also add in psychedelic elements with weird guitar effects. There are some good songs like track number 2, which I'm not going to say because I won't be able to pronounce it correctly, but it has these heavy Black Sabbath style guitar riffs, and there's some softer tracks like track number 4, which sounds like some slower blues types of songs. The album also has some variety. I'm not going to dive deep into it. I probably should have done a full review, but I recommend you check it out. Finally, this brings us to the weekend, which is May 30th. There were lots of albums I liked. I considered doing full reviews, but I figured let me just talk about a few of the albums since it's the last day of the month. Anyway, so I'm just going to do quick reviews of my favorite albums that came out this weekend, and actually I have 5. I thought it was a really good weekend, and some of my favorites were from this Friday. I'm going to start with the self-titled album by Rivers of Nihil. I've been a fan for this band for a while now. Their last album was The Work, which I reviewed on this channel when it came out. It was back in 2021. I remember I kind of liked the album back then, but I haven't listened to it in a while. And I remember I liked the previous album, Where Owls Know My Name, much better. After The Work was released, they went through some lineup changes. Their guitarist, John Topori, left in 2022, as well as their lead singer, Jake Diffenbach. So bass player, Adam Biggs, he took over on vocals, and the band also has Patrick Corona on saxophone, because we all know every tech death metal band needs a sax player, so that's pretty cool. I like the album. I think they're going for more of an accessible sound. For example, the opening track, The Suborbital Blues, has clean and harsh vocals as well as some atmospheric sounds. The next track, The Dustman, brings back some of those more extreme elements that we know from the previous albums, as this is a much more aggressive track. There's the track Water and Time, which goes in a different direction with clean atmospheric guitars in the intro. It sounds like something you would hear from the band The Cure a little bit, but also features some cleaner singing and more melody. And it was a really good song. I liked it. There was also the track American Death. It sounded more like a typical death metal track with some chugging guitars and harsh vocals, with some cleaner vocals in the chorus. This one kind of reminded me of the band Gojira. Overall, one of the best albums of the month. I know it just came out, but every song is really good, and I liked it a lot. Next, I have another EP from the band Vader. The name of it is Humanihility. Vader is a Polish death metal band that also leads towards thrash metal. They've been around a long time. To be honest with you, I've never listened to this band before. I've heard of other metal channels talking about them. I was really surprised how good this was, considering it's a short EP. It's under 10 minutes long. The EP consists of 3 songs, but they're all great songs. The opening track is called Genocide Designed. This has some heavy chugging guitars and fast-paced drum beats. It's a very old-school death metal sound with lots of energy as well as some brutal vocals. Next track is called Rampage, and it's just a short 2-minute track. Very fast and brutal. It's filled with some intense drumming and guitar pyrotechnics. I thought the song was a cross between the extreme thrash and death metal. And the last track was called Unbending, which is the Mystic Festival anthem of 2025. It was released back in April, and it's the official anthem for the aforementioned festival in Poland. I thought it sounded more like thrash. It was a little slower paced, but also had elements of death metal in the guitar riffing. Overall, just 3 tracks, but they're all awesome, and I really need to start listening to Vader. I've never listened to this band before, but I like them a lot. I gotta check out their albums. Next I have The Haunted with Songs of Last Resort. It's another band that I've heard of, but I've never listened to before, and I really like the album. I think almost all of my favorites of the month actually came out this weekend. They are a Swedish metal band from Gothenburg, Sweden. They have a little bit of that melodic death metal sound that is characteristic of that city, but they also have elements of thrash and groove in their sound. The band has been around since the late 90s. It's their 10th album, also their first album in about 8 years, so that's probably why I haven't really heard of them. The opening track, Warhead, was one of the singles. It's a very aggressive and energetic song filled with guitar riffs that are like a mix of melodic death metal and thrash metal. It kind of has that Slayer type of energy. Next song is In Fire Reborn. This one has some really cool, complex guitar riffs and some intense double bass drumming. Then was Death to the Crown. It had more of an old school death metal sound with lots of those buzzsaw guitars. Then it was a song called To Bleed Out, which slows things down and brings in a lot of melody. I felt it was the most Gothenburg melodic death metal sounding song on the album. There are so many other good songs, but I don't have time to get to the album. And like the band Vader, I need to check out this band because I like it. So someday I will do a deep dive into their discography. The next band is called Graceless. The album is Icons of Ruin. It's one of those bands I just found by chance. I put on the album, I liked it. They are a death doom band from the Netherlands. They formed in 2016. This is their 4th album. I guess a good comparison would be the band Asphyx, which is also from the Netherlands. Opening track is called The God Shines in Absence. Right away you can hear the double bass drumming and big powerful guitars. Song wasn't really that slow moving as some death doom bands have a tendency to be. Sounded more like traditional death metal. Song also had deep guttural vocals, typical of the death metal genre. There were also some slower moving tracks, such as Lash Me to My Painful Death, which begins with slow, heavy guitar riffs that create this big atmospheric wall. There's also the track Night of the Slain, which is one of those mid-paced death metal tracks with lots of chugging guitars. Overall, it's a really good album. Songs have varying tempos, so it's not all super fast, not all super slow. The album has a really nice flow to it, so I like this one a lot. I have one more band. It's called Vildhjarta. The album has a title I probably won't be able to pronounce correctly, so I'm going to put the text on the screen up there. They are a Swedish progressive metal band that formed in 2005. The band plays this Meshuggah-influenced gent style with big guitar riffs. They're down-tuned guitars, and they add in lots of other sounds. They include these harmonic minor chord progressions, staccato riffs, layered guitars, and all of this creates these big sound textures and some kind of metal music that doesn't sound like any other band I've heard before. It's another band that I found by chance. I know other channels talked about them. So I decided to give them a listen, and I was really surprised because I usually don't gravitate towards this type of genre. Thought it was really good because they sound very unique. I'm going to talk about a few of the songs. I'm not going to say the song titles because I'm not going to be able to pronounce them correctly. So the opening track, track number 1, opens with spacey atmospheres and they bring in heavy pummeling guitar riffs. It's weird because the music doesn't sound like it follows any normal pattern. but it doesn't really sound out of place. Track number 3, which was one of the singles, and the same thing, they play these notes on the guitar that seem random, but they're really not. And they have lots of harsh vocals. And then track number 4, which was another single, was a little more spacey and atmospheric with lots of sound textures and heavy guitar riffs. Overall, it's a very strange album that doesn't sound like anything I've ever heard before. I like it a lot, and that's why I have it on this list. So let me know what's your favorite album from May 2025. I want to hear your picks. Leave a comment below and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I will be back soon. I will see you in the next video.